Imagine you have a lead list of 5,000 contacts and the only way to get through it is to manually call every single phone number one by one. You'll be stuck trying to call these numbers for days and become increasingly tired and sick of doing it. Luckily, we now have advanced AI phone agents that can automatically call hundreds of leads an hour with no loss in quality, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and almost no business owners even know about this. Traditional marketing methods will not be able to compete with this, and you'll see your business rapidly fall to your AI-driven competitors. To solve this, I'll show you how to build, deploy, and test a lead generating AI phone system completely from scratch. I've built and deployed several AI phone systems, both outbound and inbound, for businesses in many different industries, including pressure washing, irrigation, real estate, and more. The best part is that this can be done quickly using beginner-friendly, no-code tools. You can upload a list of leads into a Google Sheet, have the system automatically detect the new contact, call them, and then provide a lead report once a call is concluded. I'll also show you how to build an agent that can sell without a script and handle any question a prospect may ask. By the end of this video, you will become an expert in AI outbound calls and will have access to all the templates created in this video. Please note that direct business to consumer calling is only allowed if the prospect consents to receive the AI call. Otherwise, B2B calling is completely fine. So this right here is the outbound B2B AI caller dashboard that we're going to be building. This right here is just Google Sheets. So it's really simple to get set up, and Google Sheets is obviously free. All this does is we can input a phone number that we want to call in the phone number list right here. This is then going to produce a call ID from our AI caller system, in which we're going to be using vappy.ai to run our AI phone calls. Once the phone call is made to the person, it is then going to tell us whether or not that phone has now been picked up or it hasn't been picked up. Once that's been picked up, we're going to configure a function in our Vappy assistant. If you have used Vappy before, you'll know what that is. What we're going to be able to do is check if they're actually interested in the services that we're offering. So we're going to be able to use this platform to scale 100, 200 calls, and we're going to be able to use this interest column to see which of these people are interested in our services. And then any sales team can use this to understand the amount of people that are interested in the services and then individually call those people to then make the final sale. And then lastly, in our column, we have the summary, and this is just an AI generated summary of the transcript from our call. So this is something that is automatically generated from the Vappy platform that we're just going to send into our dashboard. So we've got a good range of data that we can look at to monitor our outbound calls. So to go ahead and quickly demo this, I can just go ahead and type in my phone number right here. You'll see that the call ID has now populated with a Vappy call ID. And then also you'll see that I'm now receiving a phone call. I'm going to go ahead and pick this up.
Hi, is this Brendan?
Yes, it is.
Hi, Brendan. It looks like you were interested in an iPad. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'm interested in the iPad for sure.
Hold on a sec. Great. Did you have any questions, or would you like me to go through the purchase process?
So there you go. You can see that it was obviously able to call me automatically and then ask me that particular question. So it was a pretty basic system there, but it asked us if we were interested. I said yes, and you could see there it automatically populated with the interested field. So we now know that this particular individual with this phone number was interested, and you can see there just a bit of a delay, but it did recognize that the phone was obviously picked up. And if it wasn't picked up, it would have said no as well. So this right here is make.com, and make.com is the automations platform that we're going to be using to connect Vappy to Google Sheets. And we're going to have this entire system run for us. We won't need to do any manual work in terms of running these outbound calls. Now, what you see here are 3 individual automations that are required for this system to work. First automation is the interested status. So on Vappy, if you are familiar with how it works, we're going to be running a function to recognize whether or not they were interested in our product. So as you saw on the call there, when I said I was interested, it said, hang on a sec. That's when it was running this automation. And then it went ahead and obviously registered that information on our Google Sheet. The next automation we're going to be setting up is the actual call system. So when we go to our Google Sheet, we input the phone number in the phone numbers field, and we go to this automation, which automatically runs when a new phone number is added. It then sends a call from Vappy and then records that call ID, as we can see on the sheet here. And then lastly, we've got an automation for the pickup status. So just recognizing whether or not the call was picked up or wasn't picked up. We've got an automation to track that as well. So the first thing that I'm going to be setting up is the Vappy assistant. This is obviously the main thing that connects to all of our automations to run our calls. I'm not going to build a super advanced system. This is just going to cover most of the basics so that we can obviously showcase the power of the call dashboard rather than the actual assistant. If you did want to learn more about this Vappy platform, I do have a 2-hour tutorial where I cover pretty much everything there is to know about the Vappy platform. So I do recommend checking that video out and then coming back and following this video. So obviously go ahead and create an account on Vappy. Once you've done that, you'll see that there's a create assistant button. What we're going to do is click create assistant. It's going to ask us for an assistant name. I'm just going to call this B2B outbound. I'm I'm going to click on blank template and click create assistant. Once you've done that, we're going to land on a pretty fresh page here where there's pretty much nothing configured. And we're going to use this to build our entire assistant from. The first thing that I'm going to change on our new assistant is actually the model. I'm just going to swap this over to GPT-4o. I'd say that this is the best all-round model for our voice assistants. The reason being is because it is quite a bit smarter than GPT-3.5. The next thing I'll change is the first message. So I'm just going to say, hi, is this Brendan? I'm then just going to go ahead and remove this prompt that's given to us automatically. Now I'm just going to go ahead and actually paste in this prompt that I've created earlier, which you can get access to in my school community down below. And this is just a really basic prompt. This is the exact same one I used in the demo at the start of the video. And this is essentially just a fake Apple store that's trying to sell us an iPad. And we're just saying yes or no if we're interested in buying that iPad. And then based on that condition, it'll run that interested function. So really rudimentary, really basic in terms of getting that function ran and as an assistant overall. Obviously, if you're building this for your own business, you'd want to really add more to this prompt. You'd add more to the details of the actual business. Obviously, I'm assuming that the model itself knows exactly what the Apple company is. Obviously, in your case, it wouldn't. So you'd want to obviously beef this up, make it a bit more detailed as to exactly the products you sell and the business that you run. So it obviously operates a lot better. So the first thing that I've got in my prompt is the role. I'm just saying who they are. So this is talking to the assistant. Of course, in our instructions, we are talking to the AI assistant like it's a person. So I'm just saying you are an experienced salesperson for the technology company Apple. Your role is to help customers purchase our products. Next, we've got the task, so what they actually do, the assistant, what it actually does. Your task is to converse with the customer, find their needs, solve their pain points, and sell them our products. Then we've got the specifics, so how they actually do this task. You are a highly intelligent salesperson. You will converse with the customer about the specifications of our products. You must closely follow the scripts provided. And these specifics are very important to my career. Please follow these. Your ability to closely follow the script is integral to the business's bottom line. Adding in these sort of stricter sentences where I'm saying that this is an integral part of the business's bottom line, is a really good way to get the assistant to strictly follow certain things that you want it to. In this case, I want it to really follow the script and obviously cover all of these specifics because these are important facts to make the assistant the way we want it to. So this is just a really good tip to add in sort of strict sentences to really force it to understand the importance of different parts of your prompt. The next part is context. So this is just giving the assistant more context about the business that we run. Like I said earlier, it probably already knows what Apple is from the actual AI model itself. So in your case, for your business, you'd want to give it a bit more detail about what you do so it has a bit more knowledge and intelligence about your products. Within the context, I've got two different sections for the business and what we do. So the business, we are Apple Inc. We provide technology products for the world. And what we do, we help people connect digitally with world-class devices. Just made this all up, but it should understand exactly what we're talking about. Then next, we've got the examples. So this is really where we want to put in examples of the dialogue and the script we want it to say. This is a really important part because this really shapes exactly what it says and how it works and how it operates. It's really just putting in a script that you want it to follow along with, covering all the main points and data that you want to capture, and then obviously leaving it like that. It's really just making sure to capture all of the main points in your script and capture all of the data that you're looking for. Obviously, in our case, I really only set this up to capture whether or not this person's interested in an iPad or not, yes or no, and that's pretty much done for our call. But obviously, if you're running a business or selling services that have multiple different sort of call flows, whether one interest level takes you down a different question path than another to do qualification, that is something that you're going to need quite a more extensive script for. Obviously, this is not to that advanced level, but this is just a really basic, rudimentary way to get this done. And then in the notes, we've just given it some general instructions to follow along with. If the customer is interested, you must run the get interest level function. So I'll show you that function in a minute, but this is critical for getting the interest level to pop up in our call dashboard. And then next, we've got please ensure you follow the script closely. So if we wanted to follow that script, just reinforcing it to make sure that it understands that this is an important part of our script. And then we've got a similar thing just below it. If a customer asks a question deviating from the script, answer the question accurately, then flow back into the script. Once again, this is just a really light prompt where I've only given a couple of sentences to really back up and understand the importance of different parts of the script. But the more you test it, the more you realize that it isn't 100% accurate every single time. And you're going to have to add more into the notes and add more into the context for it to continually understand what's important, what's not important, to really shape an accurate and reliable assistant over time. So once again, you can get access to this script and everything that I create in this video within my school community down below. Once you've got this all set up, just hit publish. The next thing that I'm going to change, I'm going to go to the voice module here and I'm going to change this over to 11 Labs. Cartesia or 11 Labs work. PlayHT is really good as well. This isn't really critical. You can just play around with the different options and find out which one you think sounds the best. So once that's all set up, we're going to start building our first automation in make.com, which is going to be getting the interest level from the user live during the call. So to do this, we're going to be creating a tool on our VAPI assistant. So if I click into select tools here, you'll see that I've already got the get interest level tool, but I'm going to be creating a new tool that is going to do the same thing. So just click into tools and then click new tool. We're then going to click into make.com because it's going to be a make.com automation. And then just below this, you'll see that it wants a server URL, which is a webhook URL from your make.com scenario. So now you'll need to sign up for a make.com account. And once you've got this up and running, go to create a new scenario. Once you've done that, you're going to land on this page right here. And all we're going to need to do is click webhook, custom webhook. And we're going to be using this webhook in our VAPI function. Just click add. I'm going to give this a random name, call it the outbound VAPI. You can name it whatever you like. It doesn't really make a difference. Click copy address to clipboard, go back to VAPI and paste the webhook URL in here and hit save. Then hit next. And then it's going to say build your schema, define your schema, which the LLM should generate. So all we need to do here is just talk about the actual bit of data that we want to capture from the user. So in this case, we want to know either yes or no. Do they want, or are they interested in our products? So I'm just going to say interest level, and then I'll say either yes/no the user if the user is interested in our product. One thing we can do is swap this over to the Boolean function, which is either a true or false value. In this case, I'm just going to select the string because I found some errors using the Boolean down the road. So I'm just going to use this string function and just type either yes, no, and then the AI will automatically figure out whether or not to put yes or no every single time. So it's smart enough to do that itself. Just hit save and then hit next. And then we just need to say broadly what this tool is for. So in this case, we're going to be naming it the same name that we named it in the prompt. So that was get interest level. And then description, just a broad description. This determines if the user is interested in our product or not. And then we just hit create. Once that's created, we can go back to our assistant, go down to select tools and hit get interest level. And now we'll come back to make.com. So once that is all set up, we can just click OK. And that is now connected. So one thing we can do is now test if this thing actually works. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit save, and this should save our scenario. I'll turn on scheduling, so this can be ran at any point in time. I'm now going to quickly hit run once. This is just going to start loading until it receives some data. I'll then click talk to assistant.
Hi, is this Brendan?
Yes, it is.
Hi, Brendan. It looks like you are interested in an iPad. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Great. Did you have any questions, or would you like me to go through the purchase process?
No, that's it. I'm just interested in buying it.
This'll just take a sec. Excellent. Let's proceed with the purchase process.
So there you go. As you can see, we were able to run through that function when the tool was called, and we can just click into here, click into function, click into arguments, interest level, yes. So you can see there, either yes or no will pop up. If we call it again and say no, we're not interested, it'll say no. And then we can just use this to populate our call dashboard. So now we'll start to create our call dashboard. I've just gone to Google Sheets and created a brand new spreadsheet. I'll just give this a name called outbound VAPI demo. So the first column that we're going to use is obviously the phone number. So we just type phone number. Next column is going to be whether or not the phone call was actually picked up or not. Obviously you can customize this however you'd like, but this is just how I had it set up. Then we want to know whether or not they were actually interested in the product that we're selling. Once again, obviously, if you don't want to capture just the interest level, you want to capture maybe their name or whatever, you can just put in interest level right there. And then we're going to put in the call ID. And this call ID is going to be used as the sort of unique identifier for every single call. So it knows exactly who the call is coming from. So when we actually assign some of our other automations, we can use the call ID for this. And then lastly, we're going to use the summary. So we're just going to be using the summary of the transcript that VAPI creates automatically. So we can just come in here and get a quick idea of exactly how the call went, whether it went okay or badly. We can get that from the summary. And then I'm going to quickly just turn this into nice formatting so it's clear and understandable. Now back on this automation for our interest level, we're just going to give this a name, call it the interest level VAPI. Name it anything you'd like just for you to see. And once it's done, we are going to be coming back to this automation later on. Now we're going to move on to some of the other automations, and we are going to come back to this automation so we can complete it. We can't obviously assign the interest level for every single call if we haven't made the calls yet. We need to set up the other automations first. So to do this, click create new scenario once again. And what we're building is the B2B outbound call system. So the actual main automation that's going to be looking at the phone numbers that are populated. And this is going to look at our phone number column, and it's going to look at any new value that is added into that column. and it's going to run our automation every time that happens. So the module we want to use is the perform a function module. It's then going to prompt us to create a webhook, and then we can give this a name. I can just leave it as my function webhook. And once we've done that, it's very similar to the other webhook. We can just click copy address to clipboard and hit OK. And now we have to come back to our Google Sheet dashboard right here. We need to actually add an extension to our Google Sheets dashboard. So just click on extensions. And what we're looking for is the make for Google Sheets. So I've already got this installed, but to install it, just click on add-ons, get add-ons, and there's an already created make.com add-on for Google Sheets. So you can just type in make at the top here, and you'll see that make comes up as a integration directly into Google Sheets. So just click install, and then this is going to allow us to connect our automation to our Google Sheet dashboard. So once you've got that installed, you'll see make for Google Sheets. Just click on settings. Once you've clicked on that, you're going to see this big thing pop up on the right-hand side. And this is going to be where we input our webhook URL. So make sure that this is copied from make.com. Go and paste in the webhook URL here and paste in the webhook URL at the bottom as well. And then we want to make sure that it's only looking at the phone number column right here. So when we add values into the other parts of our dashboard, it's not going to trigger our automation as well. So we can just change this to say sheet 1, because this is the sheet name that we're using. Obviously, if the name's different, it should be a different name. And then the range is just going to be A1 to A whatever. So we can just say 1,000 and it'll look at the 1,000 rows right here, or we can increase this to 10,000 or whatever, but just making sure that you're capturing a specific set of data in the dashboard. So make sure to hit save, and you'll see settings saved successfully, and just hit OK. If it didn't work, you need to make sure that your default Google account is the one that you're using. So this is sort of the main Google account in your browser. If you use any of these secondary accounts, it might not work. So just make sure to follow that. So to test this out, we can just click run once, and then we can just go here, type 123 or really anything, and this should populate with that value. And so there you go. The value has now populated automatically from just entering it into our sheet here. And then you can see here, value 123, that's popped through. And now we can obviously use this for running the phone call from. So the next part of our automation is going to be using the VAPI module on Make to create an outbound phone call. So this is pretty simple to set up. All we need to do is go back to VAPI and just get a couple of values. So the one value that we need is our assistant ID. So just getting the assistant ID from the particular assistant that you want to connect for the outbound calls. So in this case, for the one that I just created, there's a copy button at the top. Come here and just paste it into the assistant ID tab. And then at the bottom, we want the phone number ID. So I just go to my phone numbers tab on VAPI. You do need to make sure that you have imported a number from either Twilio or Vonage, and make sure that that is working on your account. Once again, if you want to set that up, you can watch my other 2-hour tutorial on VAPI, which will show you everything there is to know. But it's a pretty simple setup to just import it from Twilio. But all you need to do is just copy the phone number ID at the top. So pretty similar to the assistant ID. We've just got a phone number ID, and just paste that in the bottom. So I've just gone ahead and ran the automation once again from our Google Sheets. And what we should get here is the value. Click into here. It obviously ran into an error because we haven't put in any phone number. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to put in a plus here, because we want to actually have it understand the area code. And if you put a plus into Google Sheets, it's going to think we're doing addition. So I'm just putting in a plus there. And then we want to grab that value. So in this case, value, you can drag and drop, put the value in there and click OK. To test that this thing actually works, we can right click and just run this module. So it's only going to be running our phone call, and you can just type in your phone number and hit OK. And as you can see there, it's now green. And if I check my phone, we are now receiving a phone call from our assistant that we just inputted all of the values into just there. And now lastly, the only thing we need left for this automation is to update that particular row with the call ID. So we can do this pretty simply by clicking on the plus button, going to Google Sheets and scrolling down to the update a cell. Make sure to connect to your Google account. In this case, we don't need to connect it through the extension. We can just connect this through our actual login. Then just make sure to connect your actual spreadsheet ID, so outbound VAPI demo, and then select the actual sheet name. And then we just want to input the cell value. In this case, the call ID is in the D column. Obviously, if yours is in a different column, you're going to need to use the different letter. But in this case, we're using the D column. So I'm just going to put in the letter D. And then from our Google Sheets variables here, we want to use the row end value, which just tells us the exact row in this entire spreadsheet that we are going to be using to populate the call ID into. So whether it was a 10 or 11, it'll know the difference between the two. And then in the value tab right here, we just want to grab the call ID, which is the one all the way at the top. You can drag and drop and click OK. So once you've done that, just go down to the save button right here. So now this should be ready to go. We'll just click on run once, wait for new data, and then we're just going to input our phone number into the dashboard. It should get automatically picked up by Google Sheets. It should then use that value on VAPI. There we go. And now it should record that data right here in the call ID, check my phone, and we can see here that we are receiving a call from the dashboard directly. So it has now worked. We can now input any number we'd like into our phone number field right here, and it will start to call it using this automation. So now that it is done, this automation at the top here is completely done. It'll now call any number that we add into our dashboard. It will give us a call ID and call them up, and that is ready to go. We can now go back to our interest level automation here, and we can now use the values that are populated in our spreadsheet for the interest level automation to work. So the first module we're going to be using is a Google Sheets search rows. So this module is going to be used to actually search for the particular call ID in our call dashboard to then assign the interest level to that particular row in the data. So make sure to connect your Google account and then make sure to select the exact spreadsheet as well as sheet name. Once this is all populated, we just need to add in a filter. And this is just looking at the call ID, which is our D column. And we're going to be saying, is this equal to the call ID from the call that comes through? So we can get this by just clicking in the box. We'll see this red values pop up as long as we have ran this at least once. Then we can see the call tab here and call ID. We can just drag that in. And so now it's saying if the call ID is equal to this particular call ID that has come through in the call, we now know the exact row in which we want to assign the interest level to. So just click OK. The next module we're using is the update a cell because we want to now update the cell with that particular interest level. We can just use the search bar, update a cell. Once again, making sure to select the spreadsheet ID and sheet name. And now we just need to enter the specific cell that we want to put this data into. In our case, the interest level is in the C column. So we want to be using the C cell. And now we just need the row number. So just click into the cell. You'll see that we've got a bunch of values coming from the previous step, number 2. And we can just click on row number. And now row number will get put alongside C. So it'll get C, whatever row number the call ID was found in. And now we can go ahead and put in the interest level right here. And we can get this interest level by clicking into value, going down and looking at the webhooks, clicking into tool calls, function, arguments, and we'll get interest level right here. We can drag that in once again. And this will either be yes or no. Was the person actually interested in buying our product? And this will be registered into our call dashboard automatically using this automation. So we can test this out by clicking run once at the bottom, go to our dashboard and just put in our phone number. Our first automation has worked. The call ID is now populated right here. We can go back here, and if I pick up the call that's coming through.
Hi, is this Brendan?
Yes, it is.
Hi, Brendan. It looks like you were interested in an iPad. Is that correct?
Yeah, definitely. I'm interested in the iPad.
Great. Did you have any questions, or would you like me to go through the purchase process?
No, I've got no questions. I'm ready to buy it right now.
Hold on a sec. Great, Brendan.
So there we go. The automations currently set up have all worked. We were able to input the phone number, register the call automatically, and you can see there the function ran to check the interest level, and then obviously just updated the fields. It understood the particular row in which the call ID was associated with. In this case, it was the first row or the second row, and then it right here says interested yes, because I said I was interested in buying at that stage on the call. And there you go. Now, lastly, we're just going to set up the automation to register the picked up status as either yes or no. Did they pick up or did they not? And we're also going to be using this to input the summary, which is a summary of the transcript that has occurred to help us just understand whether or not the call has gone well or not. So once again, just click create new scenario. Once you've done that, we're going to create a brand new webhook. So click custom webhook. Once again, give it a name. This name can be anything, but in this case, we're going to just call this the VAPI status. Once again, doesn't really matter. Then just click copy address to clipboard and hit OK. And now come back to VAPI. And what we want to do is go to the advanced section, scroll down until the server messages and server URL. So this server URL is the URL or the webhook from make.com. So just copy that, paste that in here. And now what's going to happen is that any sort of requests that happen with this assistant, so when the call is picked up, when the call is ended, when the call is either or not picked up at all, we're going to be able to get all of that data sent to this webhook and then transferred through this automation. So once the server URL is added in there, we just need to add a couple of things to the server messages. So just come to the server messages and we just need to turn on function call as well as end of call report. And these are the only two messages that we want to be sending to our automation. And just make sure to hit publish. So going back to our automation, I'll just give this a name once again. This is just for your knowledge, but this is the pickup status and summary. And to test this, we're just going to hit the save button. We'll turn on the scheduling and we can just hit run once. And we can test this by just going into the VAPI browser and just clicking talk with assistant. And this will automatically get populated with that server message if it's working.
Hi, is this Brendan?
We can just go ahead and hang up the call. We don't need to even talk with it. The data should come through on our webhook. So there we go. We've got an end of call report that has come through on this webhook right after the call was ended. And so we're going to be using this to understand whether or not the call was picked up or it wasn't. So you'll see that that's why there was a little bit of a delay on whether or not the call was picked up or not, because it's only going to know that as soon as the call has ended. But this will give us enough time to understand, yes, the call was picked up, or no, the call wasn't picked up, and whatever we want to do with that information from there. So the next module I'm going to be using is a router. A router is essentially controlling two different paths the automation can go down. In this case, we want two different paths because two different types of information can come from this webhook. And those two paths are whether or not the call was either picked up or the call wasn't actually answered whatsoever. And we can determine these two by using this router. So if I click into the first path here, what we can do is label this as picked up. And this is going to be how we can determine which calls were picked up or weren't picked up. So all we need to do is click on this first tab right here and go down to the ended reason. If we click on this, you'll see that it says here, customer ended the call. So in this case, I did pick up the call. And so that's why it says customer ended call, because I also ended the call. And so we can use this to understand, okay, the customer actually ended the call. So just below this, we can type customer ended call, and then we can swap this to contains. Then just click OK. Once you've done that, just click on the yes button right here. This yes is setting up as a fallback. There is another way that the customer can still pick up and end the call, which is when the call is actually ended by VAPI itself, or the actual assistant ends the call. So it wouldn't be the customer that ended the call, it would be the actual AI that ends the call. So we're using this as the fallback, as that is the only other option that can come through. So it will run down that path if the customer does pick up the phone and ends the call. By the way, just click that and that will work. Then on the other path, we just click here and type ended. Once again, this is just for our knowledge, but this is going to be the path when the call is actually not picked up at all. Once again, using the same data ended reason, and we're just going to type in customer did not answer. So now we've got our two different paths to go down depending on whether or not the call was obviously picked up or the call wasn't picked up and it ended immediately. The next module we want to use is just the Google Sheets search rows. This is going to be used to find the call ID, to find the exact row where we want to input this data. So making sure to connect your spreadsheet and the sheet name exactly, coming down to filter and clicking call ID. Then we want to swap equal to over to contains. And then we just want to put in the call ID value from our call. Just click on call ID, drag and drop, and now it's looking at the right value. The next module we want to use is update a cell. We obviously want to update the cell with the value. And before we continue to this module, we just want to add in a filter that actually checks that this actually found a row in the first place. If it didn't, it's going to cause an error down the road. We just want to make sure that this found a row of data, or essentially a call. If it didn't find a call, then there's obviously an issue that's occurred before this. So all we need to do is click in here, then just search for the row number, drag and drop the row number into here, and then just swap this from equal to exists. And I can just label this continue. So now making sure you've populated the next module with all the right fields, then go down to the cell right here. And what we're going to do is obviously populate the picked up field right here, which is in the letter B. So we're just going to type in B, and then we want to get the row number. So we can just search that up, drag and drop, and then we go. And for the value, we're just going to say yes, because in this particular automation path that it's run down, this is saying that yes, the call was picked up. In the other path, we're going to say no. So it's going to be the same thing, but it's just going to say no. And now lastly, for this path, we're going to do the call summary. So we're going to connect this to here. It's going to be pretty similar. So we're just going to do update a cell. And in this case, we're going to be using the E cell. If I go back to here, that is in the E column right here for our summary. So we're just going to type in E, and then we're going to grab our row number because we want the right row, of course. And then for the value, we're just going to type in summary, and we're just going to grab the summary that's come from our message, and then just hit OK. And now for our ended path, we're going to do a pretty similar automation setup. So we're going to go to Google Sheets, type in search rows, making sure the correct sheet is selected once again. And we're just going to add in that exact same filter for the call ID, type in call ID, and then we're just going to type in call ID here, grabbing the right one, putting it in there, and just clicking OK. Now our next and final module is the update a cell module, the same as this. So we're just going to click on this, Google Sheets, update a cell. And this cell is once again just going to be B, and we're going to grab the row number. And now for the value, we're just going to type no, because no, in this case, they didn't pick up the call at all. And we can now record that as having not been picked up. And then once again, we just want to quickly add in the continue right here, which makes sure that we only continue if we actually found a row in the first place. So just clicking into here, going to row number, grabbing the row number, and then swapping this over to exists, which just looks if there's any value in the first place, hitting OK. And now this is completely done. So let's assess if this thing actually works. We're going to go ahead and put in my phone number into the dashboard once again. And now that it's gone through and we're now receiving the phone call, if I go ahead and pick up the phone call.
Hi, is this Brendan?
Yes, this is Brendan. That's right.
Hi, Brandon. It looks like you were interested in an iPad. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'm definitely interested in purchasing right now.
Give me a moment. Fantastic. Let's go ahead and complete your purchase.
So if I just go ahead and hang up that call, we can see everything else is obviously populated and worked properly there. But once that end of call report comes through, you'll see right away, yes, the call was picked up. And we've also got that call summary right here. Confirmed his interest in purchasing the iPad, intention to buy, and then whatever, got the summary come through, perfectly ran. And there we go. It's already set up and we can pretty much add in any phone number you like into this column of the phone numbers. We can add in as many phone numbers as we want. It's going to automatically send the outbound call and it's going to populate all of these fields with all of the relevant data to understand whether or not that person was interested, if the call was picked up in the first place, as well as a nice little summary to understand and give you a general consensus of how the assistant is actually performing. If you are a business owner and you want to get an AI automation system just like this or something completely different, go ahead and book a call with me using the link below and we can discuss anything that you like. Or go ahead and check out this 2-hour tutorial where I cover everything there is to know about the Vappy AI platform.